31 put together. With 1.417 and 1.412 billion people respectively, India and China are together home to 1/3 of humanity. They should, in other words, make for frequent and profitable flights. And indeed, they did. In December 2019, there were 539. After all, there's really no other option. The Chinese city of Lhasa, for example, lies just 200 miles northeast of Sikkim, India. Yet getting there by car would require a 120-hour, 4,000-mile detour through Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, thanks to a little something called Mount Everest. The steep, inhospitable Tibetan plateau with its 20,000-plus-foot mountains makes any form of land travel nearly impossible. Flying, by contrast, takes about 5 hours between Delhi and Shanghai. Or rather, it did. Today, the fastest journey takes twice as long and requires a layover in Hong Kong. As you can probably guess, this unprecedented state of affairs began with an unprecedented pandemic. In March 2020, both India and China banned virtually all international arrivals. But 2 years later, India resumed regular travel. A year after that, China did the same. Yet still, no flights between them.
Australian koffie, langzaam gebrand, 100% biologisch. Verkrijgbaar bij Albert Heijn.
And that's because of what happened here, back in the summer of 2020. But first, some quick background. This is modern-day China. This is India. And these are the countries of Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. China and India share the longest disputed border in the world. It's split into 3 sections. First, the eastern one. In 1914, representatives from India, then ruled by Britain, China, then ruled by the Republic of China, and Tibet, then a de facto independent nation before China seized control in 1950, met to discuss the latter's status. Tibet and British India then agreed on this line as their eastern border, which the Republic of India still maintains to this day. China, however, never recognized the sovereignty of Tibet. The Tibetan government, it maintains, never had the right to sign that 1914 agreement. Therefore, the border is invalid. Moreover, it considers treaties like this one to be unequal and unfair abuses of imperialist power, in this case by Great Britain. For cultural and historical reasons, it says, the actual line is way down here. It calls this area, which is currently controlled by India, quote, South Tibet. Next is this middle section, the shortest and least contentious. China claims a small 34-square-mile sliver of land here, which overlaps with claims made by Bhutan, an independent country with extremely close ties to India. Though it may be geographically trivial, this area is strategically significant because of its proximity to the Siliguri Corridor, also known as the Chicken's Neck, a choke point just 14 miles across at its shortest point, which connects India's northeast to the rest of the country. Finally, and most hotly contested, is the western section. Here, India claims this vast area controlled by China called Aksai Chin. Although twice the size of New Jersey, the great irony is that this 15,000-square-mile region, like much of their disputed border, is among the least useful land on the planet. Its dry desert climate means almost no water, and its high elevation means almost no air, making it virtually worthless in every conceivable way. Except one, strategically. A road through Aksai Chin connects the Chinese provinces of Xinjiang and Tibet. It also enables China to quickly reinforce its border. Thus, land that no one bothered to settle for thousands of years has become some of the most sought after. In 1962, China launched a brief but deadly war, here and elsewhere along the border, killing or wounding thousands of Indian soldiers. Today, both sides acknowledge an informal line of actual control, LAC, an unsanctioned, temporary, and mutually disliked boundary placeholder. The only problem is that they disagree on where it is. Not only is there no demilitarized buffer zone, a no-man's land that would physically separate their armies and deter conflict, as on the Korean Peninsula, but there are areas where the two interpretations of the LAC overlap. And because there exists a certain use-it-or-lose-it mentality, both sides feel the need to actively occupy and patrol these disputed regions to assert their respective claims, virtually guaranteeing conflict between the two nuclear powers. Far from kicking the can down the road indefinitely, as in the Korean DMZ, this makeshift solution actually escalates tensions. It's only a matter of time before a Chinese and an Indian patrol encounter one another in one of these overlapping regions. And that's exactly what happened in the summer of 2020. On June 15th, after weeks of rising tensions, Indian soldiers entered this disputed area in the Galwan Valley, on the western section of their border, to verify whether Chinese soldiers had withdrawn, as previously agreed upon. There, they discovered and began destroying a Chinese-built structure. Exactly what happened next is unclear, but we know that fighting soon broke out between Indian and Chinese soldiers. Because of a 1996 agreement not to fire guns or explosives, this involved Stone Age weapons like rocks, sticks, and makeshift clubs. And while this was far from their first physical encounter, it was the first in 45 years to turn deadly. Tragically, 20 Indian and a suspected 35 to 43 Chinese soldiers were killed. Both sides accused the other of provoking the incident by altering the status quo. India argues that it all began with China building aggressively in territory it had not previously occupied, including on India's side of the LAC. China, meanwhile, claims this construction was merely a reaction to India first building on China's side of the LAC, which would have granted it a new tactical advantage. India claims the confrontation was planned by Beijing, China says it was spontaneous and accidental. Whatever the circumstances, the fallout was severe. Now, the Sino-Indian relationship has always been somewhat acrimonious. Pakistan is one of China's closest allies, and one of India's most bitter enemies. In 1959, the 14th and current Dalai Lama fled from Chinese-occupied Tibet to Dharamshala, India, where he has since remained as a refugee under the state's protection. More recently, India has accused China of encroaching on its regional sphere of influence in places like the Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. Still, there were occasional moments over the past 60-odd years when real progress seemed possible. In fact, one of these moments came just 8 months before the tragedy in 2020, when Xi and Modi met in person, promising to take their relationship to greater heights the following year. Beneath this enduring optimism was the basic recognition that if they could somehow set aside their differences, India and China would be an economic force to be reckoned with. China, of course, is famous for its large-scale, low-cost manufacturing. Its rare combination of extensive infrastructure, entrepreneurial local governments, and large supplies of vulnerable, non-unionized labor conspire to create an unmatched scale, speed, and concentration of production. Meanwhile, nearly every major multinational corporation has outsourced some portion of its tech support, programming, or engineering to Bangalore. China has the hardware, and India the software. But, alas, this was not to be. For an already skeptical New Delhi, the 2020 incident was the final straw, a decisive turning point from which there has been, 4.5 years later, no going back. Beijing, it became convinced, was committed to asserting its strength abroad. Drained of all hope it once had, India began retaliating. And the easiest targets were Chinese companies. Each year, India imports $120 billion worth of Chinese goods, more than it does from any other country, and nearly 3 times as much as the United States. Yet, despite being a much larger economy, China only imports 15% as much from India, an imbalance that became a liability. The Indian government banned hundreds of Chinese apps, including TikTok, imposed new rules and restrictions on Chinese companies, banned Huawei from its networks, and began investigating Chinese firms for alleged tax violations. Another easy target were travelers. India has made it nearly impossible for Chinese citizens to apply for visas. First, unlike the vast majority of the world, they can't apply online. In fact, they must do so in China, even if they live abroad. They're only told the exact requirements.
Cross me.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Nowhere to hide.
"30 seconds until minions spawn.
I never come.
Minions have spawned.
Let's finish this quickly. They won't survive. On the razor's edge.
blood. An ally has been slain. You have slain an enemy.
I never compromise.
An enemy has been slain.
Let's finish this quickly. They won't survive.
Enemy has been slain. You have been slain.
Only fools pledge life to honor.
An ally has been slain.
Pathetic. Your allegiance is nothing to me.
An enemy has been slain.
Don't cross
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
their bones will lie.
An ally has been slain.
There's nowhere to hide. I never compromise.
Killing spree.
This is no.
An ally has been slain.
Let's finish this quickly. They won't survive. On on the razor's edge.
Rampage.
Only fools pledge life to honor.
Slain. Unstoppable. An enemy has been slain. Enemy killing spree. An ally has been slain.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
An enemy has been slain.
Don't cross me. This way is my favorite. There's no way to hide.
Dominating.
I never compromise. Let's finish.
An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Enjoy the taste of steel. They won't survive.
An ally has been slain.
Only fools put life to honor. Don't cross.
You have slain an enemy. Godlike. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill. An enemy has been slain.
never compromise.
Shut down.
Let's finish this quickly. Pathetic. They
An
won't
enemy
survive.
has been slain. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain. Slain. An ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed.
Only fools
Shut
has
down.
life to honor.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
Your turret has been destroyed. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Don't cross me.
Your turret has been destroyed. Shut down.
I never compromise.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
They won't survive. On the razor's edge.
An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Don't cross me. There's nowhere to hide. I never compromise.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Let's finish this quickly.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain.
They won't survive.
An ally has been slain.
This is no challenge. On the razor's edge. Only fools pledge life to honor.
Enemy killing spree. Enemy double kill.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me. Don't cross me.
You have been slain. Enemy double kill.
It's smaller than the diagram.
Let's finish this quickly.
Enemy killing spree. Killing spree. Rampage. Your turret has been destroyed.
They won't survive.
Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
It's smaller than the diagram. It's smaller than the diagram.
Has been slain. Enemy is godlike.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
Enemy double kill. Shut down.
The sweet smell of science.
Their bones are wet. There's nowhere to hide.
It's smaller than the diagram.
I never compromise. Let's finish this quickly.
Is legendary. An enemy has been slain.
It's smaller than the diagram.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
edge. Only fools live life to honor.
Smaller than the diagram.
Been slain. An enemy is legendary. Been slain. Enemy double kill. Ace. Your turret has been destroyed. Defeat.
After applying, and these requirements often change. Unsurprisingly, nearly all applications are rejected. According to one recent estimate, a mere 2,000 visas have been granted to Chinese nationals so far this year, down from 200,000 in 2019. And because they've also stopped renewing each other's journalist visas, it's quite likely that there are currently 0 Indian journalists left in China, and vice versa. Now, ordinarily, after 4 long years of hostility, both countries might be eager to restore some diplomatic momentum, and a natural place to start building trust would be to resume flights.
Dit trickshot werd mede mogelijk gemaakt door Unox Good Pasta.
But since the 2020 hostilities, China has fortified its border, building new bridges and structures that would enable it to move and house up to 120,000 soldiers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
In other words, China has since gained a strategic military advantage. Thus, while Beijing is keen to move on, thereby legitimizing, solidifying, and securing tacit acceptance of its advances, New Delhi views this as a concession and sees the broader relationship as leverage. China would prefer to first resume flights and then discuss their border. India would prefer to first discuss their border and then resume flights. There's also been a quiet shift over the past few years in their relative economic trajectories. China was once synonymous with boundless, spectacular growth, but its economy is now growing more slowly and its consumers are spending far less. This is particularly acute in terms of travel. Since 2019, the number of flights to the US and Canada are down 63%, to France 57%, and to Taiwan 70%. It doesn't help that many countries are now banned from Russian airspace, turning, for example, a British Airways flight between Beijing and London from 10 to 13 hours. Between 2019 and 2023, China's Beijing capital airport fell from the second busiest in the world down to 23rd. Meanwhile, India is in the midst of a travel boom. Over that same period, Indira Gandhi Airport climbed from 16th to 10th place. Since 2014, India has doubled its number of airports, from just 74 to 148. And just look at this explosion of investment in rail and road infrastructure. Now, in absolute terms, the Indian economy still pales in comparison to the Chinese one. To put these numbers in perspective, United Airlines alone currently flies more aircraft than every Indian airline put together. But in terms of momentum, China is quickly losing it, while India is gaining speed. In the 1980s and 90s, it was China's potential as much as its reality that drew foreign investment, created excitement, and sustained the narrative of its meteoric rise. Today, it's India's turn to shine. In 2022, its population, still growing, passed China's, which is now shrinking. India can't build fast enough. Last year, one of its airlines placed an order for 500 Airbus A320s, the largest purchase in commercial aviation history. And yet, just 3% of the country's population has ever flown on an airplane. In other words, there's still an incredible supply of untapped growth. All of this is to say, Beijing feels a newfound sense of urgency. It's eager to get its economy back on track, resume normal travel, and stabilize its relationship with India. New Delhi, on the other hand, is in no such hurry. The result is a half-decade stalemate. Sadly, even if they do restore ties tomorrow, a real possibility, sooner or later Chinese and Indian troops will meet again at their border. And when they do, escalation may prove even harder to prevent than before. Several months after the June 2020 confrontation, both countries accused each other of firing warning shots, a clear violation of their previous agreement. Even what few rules and restraints kept a very tenuous peace in years past have since eroded, leaving them dangerously vulnerable to conflict. If and when they do achieve a true diplomatic breakthrough, it will require a great deal of creative thinking and problem solving, of the kind brilliant today's sponsor.
Well, apparently there is a Concord 2.0 that is going around and making its rounds on social media as people are starting to find out more about this video game called Fair Games. Really not sure what this is about. Apparently it's one of those heist video games, but it's a heist video game with a DEI twist, something that clearly everybody's asking for, and it looks like this is just going to be Concord essentially rebranded for Sony.
Patrick, that's a terrible idea.
sense of how fast it closed down. A video game to be released that had about 200 million plus in funding between Sony and Firewalk Studios, the fact that it closed within 10 days is absolutely insane, even for a game that everybody knew was going to fail from the moment they saw it. Now, with that being said, apparently Sony hasn't learned its lesson because it needs to double down, right? These are ideologically driven companies. They need to make sure that you realize that Antifa is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know what I'm saying? Concord 2.0 Fair Games is Sony's next impending gas failure. So let's get into this article, guys, from SmashJT.com. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Now, I see pictures like this, and I'm like, wow, they really didn't learn their lesson. You know, Sony announced a game called Fair Games, developed by Haven Studios. Congrats, Haven Studios. You're the next one that's going to be shut down after Firewalk Studios, promising a fresh, modern take on the heist genre. While the game's creative director, Matthew Ledell, hold on, time out. So what is with Sony investing in genres that are long dead? Like, I don't understand. Like, you guys are investing in genres that are well past its prime. Like, why are you doing this? You did this with the team shooter thing. Now you're doing this with the heist genre. What are we fucking doing? Like, are you guys just purposefully doing this 5 to 10 years too late? I don't understand. It says he's enthusiastic about this new IP, claiming it offers a thrilling competitive heist experience and a window into different subcultures of society. Oh, great. It seems like yet another misguided attempt by Sony to jump into the games as a service market, much like the previous flop Concord. Because clearly, when I'm going to go play a heist game, the first thing in my mind that I want to experience is different subcultures of society. Like, that's what I care about when I'm playing a heist game. Not to mention the Antifa-like attributes are curious. Well, I mean, listen, every fucking game at this point that is an ultra DEI game is going to have Antifa-like attributes, right? I mean, look at Dustport. Dustport is an Antifa. It's not an Antifa-like attribute. It is literally an Antifa simulator. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those games that it's like, okay, it's going to train the next group of young kids who are stupid enough to believe that nonsense. Then it says Fair Games has been marketed as a game where players join an underground movement to rob the ultra-rich, aiming to rebalance the scales in a modern-day Robin Hood style. Oh, we're going with Robin Hood. That's what we're doing. You know, the wokies really like the idea of Robin Hood, right? Because they're not exactly the kind of people that like to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're the kind of people that like to take and take and take and never contribute to society. So they love the idea of Robin Hood, and they try to immortalize it, and they try to essentially make it into this big story of, oh, this is a guy doing things for social justice. Yay. He's robbing from the rich to give to the poor because rich people are bad. That's the message that they try to push with shit like this. But come on, using that old narrative quickly feels worn out and tone deaf. This whole eat the rich thing has been overplayed, especially coming from a corporation like Sony, which, like any other big business, aims to make as much money as possible. Well, that might have been their mindset, you know, years ago. I don't know if that's their mindset now, SmashJT. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard to think that these companies are trying to make as much money as possible when they keep losing an exorbitant amount of money, and people are telling them, hey, what you're doing is a bad idea, don't do it, and then they double down and they make a video game like this after they just shut down their previous video game in 10 days. They didn't even bother licking the wounds before releasing another game that's going to have a massive flop. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if making money is at their top priority anymore. It says the game's comparison to Robin Hood falls flat. Robin Hood stole from the rich to give to the poor, not to enrich himself. In Fair Games, the player's goal seems to be personal enrichment, filling your pockets like a kid in a candy store. Well, that's because that's what they want to do, right? The wokies, they wish they were in a world where they could take from the rich and give themselves the money and never have to work for it like the rich did. You know what I'm saying? Or they try to pretend like every single person who's rich is a rich kid that was born into it, and that's not the case. They try to make up every excuse as to why they are failures and why everybody else is successful. But at the end of the day, they can rob rich people all they want. They're going to blow the money and still end up being a failure, just with a Rolex. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically it. You'll be a failure, but you'll have a Rolex because you don't know what to do with the damn money because you never made it in the first place. Then it says that there's a fundamental contradiction in the game's premise that makes it feel more like a disingenuous cash grab than a meaningful commentary on wealth inequality. If we're going to talk about fairness and wealth, let's be clear. There are many billionaires who have amassed their fortunes in far more honorable ways than a gas model rife with microtransactions. And let's not ignore the heavy irony. The game is designed to generate revenue using the very same tactics they pretend to criticize. Now, if they are going to release this game, I sincerely hope it's going to be free to play. I really do. Because if it's not free to play, we are just clearly not trying to pay attention. You know what I mean? Like, they are going to continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And then they're going to try to blame you. They're going to try to blame people they call the chuds. They're going to try to claim people they call the bigots. It is your fault that the game fails. It's not the modern audience's fault. It's your fault. Then it says one of the most glaring issues with Fair Game is an attempt to appeal to the Gen Z audience by employing a cool and edgy aesthetic. The game's trailer is filled with characters sporting exaggerated trendy hairstyles and flashy outfits, clearly aiming for a younger crowd. Now, I've never
They won't survive.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn."
On the razor's edge. Allegiances mean nothing.
Minions have spawned.
Don't cross me. This is no challenge. I never compromise. There's nowhere to hide. Only fools pledge life to honor. Let's finish this quickly. They won't survive. On the razor's edge.
Told you.
Has been slain.
Allegiances mean nothing. Don't cross me.
An ally has been slain.
Enjoy the taste of steel. I never compromise. This is my favorite. There's nowhere to hide. Only fools pledge life to honor. Let's finish this quickly. They won't survive. On the razor's edge. Your allegiances mean nothing to me. Don't cross me.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
I never compromise. There's nowhere to hide.
An ally has been slain. You have slain an enemy.
Their bones will wet my blade. Only fools pledge life to honor. Let's finish this quickly. Pathetic.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
They won't survive. On the razor's edge.
Have been slain.
Nico will keep your Soma alive.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
An enemy has been slain.
Don't cross me. never compromise. There's nowhere to hide. Only fools pledge life to honor.
An ally has been slain. Enemy killing spree.
Let's finish this quickly. They won't survive. On the razor's edge. Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
Enemy killing spree.
Those who do not get close.
An enemy has been slain.
I never compromise. There's nowhere to hide. Only fools pledge life to honor.
An ally has been slain.
Another for the gutter.
An ally has been slain.
Let's finish this quickly.
Now!
Shut down.
They won't survive.
You have slain an enemy. Your turret has been destroyed.
On the razor's edge.
An ally has been slain.
Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Go for the eyes.
Don't cross me.
Your turret has been destroyed. An ally has been slain. Enemy killing spree. An enemy has been slain.
I never compromise.
Your turret has been destroyed.
There's nowhere to hide. Only fools pledge life to honor.
Go for the eyes.
Let's finish this quickly.
Enemy rampage.
They won't survive.
Eyes on him.
On the razor's edge. Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret.
I never compromise. There's nowhere to hide.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain.
They won't survive. Your allegiances mean nothing to me.
Enemy killing spree. Enemy double kill. An enemy is unstoppable. Defeat.
Never seen these characters, but I would almost guarantee, again, I haven't seen them, but I would guarantee that there's probably a black person in there with a Killmonger fade. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would guarantee that's probably a thing, whether it's male or female, who really knows, but I guess we'll see eventually in the future. However, judging by the overwhelmingly negative reception on platforms like YouTube, it seems like the strategy is not just me, it isn't seemingly resonating with anyone. The problem here is that these superficial efforts appear to be hip, feel incredibly forced and pandering. That's because it is, right? You're asking people to do things that they're not naturally capable of doing, right? They don't employ these hip words or anything like that. They're not exactly the most hip people, right? These are people trying to pretend to be something that they're not.
The gift that keeps on giving, Dr. Disrespect drama continues, and I give him the credit for the fact that he's just always so irrelevant because he's an internet genius and he's an entertaining guy. And so yesterday, Dr. Disrespect made his triumphant return to YouTube to nearly 250,000 people live, and he talked a lot about the Twitch ban and all of the controversy surrounding him and what happened, but specifically he mentioned a person named Cody Connors, who was a former Twitch employee that really did kind of light the match that started all of this stuff surrounding Dr. Disrespect a few months ago, and this person, Cody Connors, has responded. And it says, Dr. Disrespect mocked by former Twitch employee after his return. What kind of lawyer do I need when I am definitely not getting sued? That's what he said. And I've got the tweet right here. But before we get to that, have you gotten the latest Geeks and Gamers merchandise from 221B? That's right, the official mascot for Geeks and Gamers, IDOT of the 199. Available for about another week. So, oh man, you're gonna hate life. Good luck in court. 5 minutes of fame or overload, bro. Pack it up. So, what the heck, man? This thing is not going away. Now, yesterday also, Nick Merckx actually responded to the Dr. Disrespect live stream and said, this retard, Dr. Disrespect, is married with children pushing 40, admits to texting a minor inappropriately. His words, not mine. So I cut ties because obviously that's inexcusable. Now I'm a shit friend for not having his back. Bunch of brain rot morons on this app. Interesting. Dexerto actually tweeted this out. Nick Merckx reacts to Dr. Disrespect's return. They edited out retard. What? They literally edited the word retard out. So I commented, I said, you really edited retard? That's retarded, because it is. This clip right here made the rounds. I did not see this clip yesterday. So when I made my video, and in my video, like I said, I think I have an unpopular opinion on this whole story because I don't really understand the whole narrative that Doc is claiming that he intentionally put inappropriately had messages with a minor in order to bait people, journalists, and other people to turn their back on him and run with narratives. That is a huge leap for me, and I don't know any normal person that would like for the internet to run with the narrative